After slogging through months of painful negotiations over their domestic agenda, Democratic leaders and President Biden claim today that they've reached a deal on a framework for a massive bill to expand the social safety net. But it's still not clear if there are enough votes for the plan. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. To give you an idea of how things are going in Congress right now, here's a photo Utah Senator Mitt Romney posted today of himself dressed up as Ted Lasso serving biscuits to Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema. Man, you know you're unpopular when you can single-handedly ruin one of America's favorite TV shows. This is like when Rudy Giuliani ran out of the White House bathroom with his pants around his ankles, George Costanza style. Or like when Nixon showed up to a press conference dressed as Radar O'Reilly. The MASH references are back! But this just proves once again that we desperately need Roy Kent in Congress, because that picture makes me wanna
joke.
Now, even if you've only been paying cursory attention to the news lately, you've probably heard the Democratic negotiations over their massive infrastructure and social safety net bills have been, and this is the exact political science term originally coined by historian Doris Kearns Goodwin, enterprise-winning study of power and influence in the 19th century, a covered ass over tea kettle cluster. That's from the X-rated version of her famous book, Team of Mother Rivals. By the way, that is the most high-minded joke you'll hear tonight that also has 3 bleeps in it. The process has been a brutal slog, thanks almost entirely to 2 centrist Democrats, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, who decided to hold the bill hostage and turn it into a public melodrama to feed their own egos and to protect their corporate patrons. Sinema has raked in money from Wall Street and Big Pharma, and Manchin has been called a kingmaker by fossil fuel lobbyists and personally profits from the coal industry in his state. And yet Manchin frequently does a woe-is-me routine for reporters, like earlier this week when he seemed to agree that life might be easier for him if he were a Republican.
Have you ever thought my life would be easier for you if you shifted to being a Republican? And somebody have said recently that, people have approached you about doing that.
Every day.
Every day. So,
well, either that or just change. I keep
wouldn't
asking.
life be easier for you to do that?
Oh, it'd be much easier. My goodness.
Is
that the purpose of being involved in public service?
Are you thinking about doing it?
No, I've never thought from this. What I'm telling you now is who I am. Do you think by having a D or an I or an R is going to change who I am? I don't think the R's be any more happier with me than D's are right now. Okay? I mean, that's about as blunt as I can put it. So I don't know where in the hell I belong.
Man, this adaptation of Dear Evan Hansen sucks. Should never have let someone that old play a high schooler, but seriously, is this a musical, or are you about to break out into song? He looks like he should be sitting next to a fake window looking at a cardboard cutout of the moon. I have D next to my name, but I'm not sure that I'm the same. Where do I belong? I think there was seriously one solitary clap. But it was like a reverse clap. It was this. This is all just a self-aggrandizing shtick from 2 senators who want to be seen as straight-shooting, middle-of-the-road deal-makers, but who are in reality just protecting their interests of the corporate patrons and themselves. I mean, Manchin literally has a stake in a family-owned coal company and a so-called houseboat named Almost Heaven, where he was confronted recently by activists who literally kayaked there to ask him questions. And I'm sorry, but that's not a houseboat. That's a yacht. You know how I know? Houseboats don't have cursive on them. A houseboat's something a grizzled retired cop played by Clint Eastwood or Tommy Lee Jones lives on in a movie where a young rookie comes to him asking for help catching the alphabet killer. I told you, I'm not on the force anymore, but you're the only one who's come close to catching him. Didn't you hear me, damn it? I'm not a cop anymore. Hell, I'm not even a man after Janice left me. I don't know where the hell I belong. Oh, where do I belong? Manchin has been the key foe of budget chairman Bernie Sanders, who's been pushing for the full package that originally included, among other things, drug pricing reform, tuition-free community college, paid family and medical leave, Medicare benefits for hearing, vision and dental, and significant climate provisions to help stave off, planetary collapse. Although, I guess you're not too worried about rising sea levels when your house is also a boat. Publicly in front of the cameras, Manchin has very much tried to make it look like he's negotiating in good faith with Bernie, like when he wandered over to pose for pictures with Bernie in the Capitol parking lot before they each got into their cars.
Here, get a picture. You want to get a picture of us? Get a picture of us, huh? We're talking. All right, we're talking.
You're going to have a resolution by the end of the week,
We're talking. We're talking. We're going to make some progress.
Senator Sanders, you prepared to make some deep cuts to climate change and other things like that?
All right, guys, just watch the vehicle, please. Come on out. That vehicle's going to come out.
My favorite part of that clip is at the end when Manchin slides comfortably into a giant pickup and Bernie squeezes into what I can only assume is the smallest compact car on the market that came pre-installed with 3 carpoolers. No radio, no chit-chat, just off to work and home again. And it is very on brand that Bernie is much less enthusiastic than Manchin for a bull photo op. Manchin's got the energy of a used car salesman shooting his own commercial, and Bernie's having none of it. Yep, sure, we're talking, and as you know, famously, talking is my favorite thing to do. I just love to sit around and waste time making small talk with guys who live on houseboats. Why don't we exchange phone numbers so you can call me and we can stay up until 3 a.m. talking about our hopes and dreams, what we're going to wear to prom, and then maybe after that we can find some time to make some batching friendship relations. But in private, Manchin has been much more hostile to Bernie's agenda. An agenda President Biden himself, mind you, has said he was fully behind. Axios reported last week that Manchin threatened in a meeting with Bernie and other Democrats to kill both the bigger social safety net bill and a bipartisan infrastructure bill. Manchin and Sanders squabbled behind closed doors, with Manchin using a raised fist goose egg to tell his colleague he can live without any of the president's social spending plan. According to one senator in the room, Joe said, "I'm comfortable with nothing." Bernie said we need to do $3.5 trillion. Manchin said, "I'm comfortable with zero," forming a zero with his thumb and index finger. All right, first of all, I'll never get into a hand gesture battle with Bernie Sanders. The man uses his index fingers the way ninjas use throwing stars. Remember the debate? He never had to say a word. He just raised that index finger while someone else was talking. It would be like watching The Rock pick up his microphone. But say all you want about Manchin, and clearly we've said a lot. At least he's a Democrat from West Virginia, where Trump won by almost 40 points. Sinema, on the other hand, is from Arizona, a state Joe Biden won, and where her poll numbers among Democrats have collapsed thanks to her obstructionism. And unlike Manchin, she never even talks to the press, or to voters for that matter. She holds private fundraisers and meetings with lobbyists, but then when constituents and reporters try to get answers out of her, this happens.
I know you're meeting with dozens of lobbyists and talking with corporate donors about the package. How many times will you meet with constituents?
What do you say that progressives that are frustrated that they don't know where you are?
I'm in the Senate.
There are progressives within the Senate that are frustrated that they don't know where you are either.
I'm like literally right for the elevator.
Any comment on your stance on anything, Senator?
Man, reporters are getting desperate. They're starting to sound like a family trapped in an escape room. Puzzle Master! Can you give us a clue? Anything? We've been here for 3 days. Sinema blocked everything from increased taxes on the wealthy to drug pricing reform, some of the most popular components of the bill. And in the process, she and Manchin have turned an entire negotiation into a nightmare slog, to the point where even reporters and correspondents are having trouble keeping up with what's in the bill and what's not.
Likely in universal pre-K, a 1-year extension of the child tax credit, child care center funding, Pell Grant increases, some unspecified climate change funding, and an elder care provision. Now, here's what might be out. Free community college. This was very important to progressives. Expanded Medicare coverage. That includes dental, vision, and hearing coverage. The Clean Electricity Performance Program. That is a major climate initiative. And tax hikes on corporations and high earners. What's still under discussion? Well, an $800 Medicare dental voucher program, 4 weeks of federal paid family leave, expansions in red states that haven't expanded it already, and to pay for it, you've heard a lot about this, a billionaire wealth tax. So it's a lot to cover.
Out, mom jeans. In, hip huggers. Out, the Kardashians. In, the Jenners. This process has been so chaotic, they had to break out the big board. Next thing you know, they're going to run Steve Kornacki out there to do math on the fly while they feed him a steady diet of paper and Sharpie. Now, the list of what's in includes a lot of great transformative stuff, like the child tax credit, universal pre-K, and some major climate stuff, among other things. But the list of what's out is infuriating. For one thing, how can anyone be against drug pricing reform or free community college or paid family leave? We're one of only a small handful of countries that doesn't have it. It's insane. Everyone deserves the right to be at home with their families and children. And besides, in my experience, the more time you spend with your kids, the more desperate you are to go back to work. After a week of lockdown with my family, I called up NBC and said, "We need to do the show in the attic." By the way, still can't believe we lost the best show in an attic Emmy to BBC's period drama, Upstairs, Even More Upstairs. And that's a perfect example of the kind of high-effort, low-return joke we learn to tell when doing a show in an attic. that joke would have killed in the attic. The audience would have been buzzing because the audience were wasps. But after all the obstructionism and hostage-taking and painful cuts, today Democrats claim they had a tentative deal on a framework for a bill, and Biden himself went to the Hill to tout it, claiming everyone was on board.
Mr. President, what's your message to the president who goes across the nation and send good day?
Do you think you have enough framework to get progressive?
Yes.
Infrastructure bill?
Is Bernie Sanders on board, sir?
Everybody's on board. You're on board, aren't you?
It's not a good sign when Biden's talking like an Amtrak conductor who dozed off. Hey, man, shouldn't you be saying all aboard? Why? I'm on board, you're on board, we're all on board, right? So there you go. The process was painful, the cuts were brutal, but at least now, finally, Democrats have a deal everyone can get behind, right?
We heard from Senator Dick Durbin a short time ago after the meeting started. He said, I wish I could say yes, but there's a great deal of uncertainty within the caucus. He was asked if he's confident all 50 Democrats in the Senate are on board. He couldn't say yes.
What? Then what the hell was this announcement all about? Don't tout the deal unless the deal is done. Don't be the dad that says, who wants to go to Disneyland? And then after the kids scream yes, go online to see if tickets are available. Okay, just remember, kids, we have very inflexible dates, so fingers crossed. Oh, shoot. Who wants to go to Busch Gardens? Stop hitting me! I am your father! Don't you throw that Lego brick at me! The stakes for this bill cannot be overstated. Democrats have to deliver on their promises, boost the economy, and give voters a reason to keep them in office. Otherwise, the people who could very well take power in 2022 and 2024 are the GOP cult of authoritarian weirdos, leaving the rest of us to say,
I don't know where in the hell I belong.
This has been A Closer Look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV, AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help now more than ever. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, get vaccinated. We love you.